Hello everyone, and welcome back to another R tutorial video. And in this video I want to wrap up our discussion on the basics of R Markdown by talking about how we can incorporate regular text with these R code blocks and some formatting options called syntax that we can use to change the appearance of that regular text to make things like headers, make things bold, italicized, etc. So what I want to do is I want to actually start off by taking the R Markdown that we used in our previous example when we talked about our code block, and I want to embellish that with some plain text to make something that we would actually consider putting on the internet or in a textbook. So what I want to do first is I actually want to, again, to sort of show you how you can do this here, we have this NA introduced by coercion output result from the x equals as numeric. And if we want to clear this from the pane, right, we can click this little X button here and you'll see that it is removed. I want to switch back to the console here. And I'm actually going to clear the console, which if you click this little whisk broom, it says clear console button, you'll see the console is now clear. So I'm also going to remove this warning equals false here. So what I want to do is I want to start off by just explaining at the most basic level how you can include regular text in an R Markdown. And the way that works is you literally just type. So anything that is not included inside of the code block backticks will be interpreted by R as regular text. So for example, I can say this is an example of a code block with regular text above it. And if I knit this, you'll see that because we haven't changed any defaults with the code block parameters, we have the code block, the output, code block, and then this warning here. But you'll also see that above the code block, we have just regular text. So again, in order to just incorporate regular text, all you have to do is just type, just like you would with like a Word document, for example. But we can do better than that. We can do things like make headers. So the way that a header works is you prefix the line of text with a hashtag and a space. And then if I type this is a header 1, you'll see that our Markdown has converted that text to be blue. This is an example again of that syntactic highlighting. It's a little bit confusing because it's using different highlighting syntaxes for the text than it is for the R code, but you know, after a little bit of practice you'll get used to reading through these things. So just to reiterate what I've done here, right, one hashtag followed by a space will make whatever text you type in that line a header, specifically a header 1. And you can include more hashtags or more pound signs to make the header slightly smaller. Right? So with 2 hashtags, we make what's called a header 2. And if we knit this, you'll see that we have a header 1 and a header 2. And you'll see that header 1 is a little bit bigger than header 2. And we can keep doing this. We can make header 3, header 4, header 5. Once you get to around header 7, so 7 hashtags, the text actually starts to become smaller than the regular text. But headers 1, 2, and 3 are particularly useful for creating structure in your R Markdown. So again, to make a header, you include a hashtag and a space, and then the text. The more hashtags you include, the smaller the header becomes. So that's how you can make headers. Something else that's useful is to make things bold and italic. And the way that this works is you use the Shift 8 key, so this is the star. Anything inside of 1 star will be italic, and you'll see again that syntactic highlighting made this light blue so that you know you've done something different. Anything inside of 2 stars, so that's Shift 8 twice, will be bold. And we can knit this just to show you what that looks like. Right, this will be italic, this will be bold. Now, what you may have noticed here is that we have all 3 of these lines. This will be italic, this will be bold, and this is an example of a code block. These are all on one line. And the reason that that is because headers work a little bit differently. I have a typo there. Headers work a little bit differently. Right? Headers are a special type of text. They're headers. But all of these are just regular text. And this may be counterintuitive, but our Markdown, just because I make another line, right? Right? I just wrote out here, right? This text is on a new line in our Markdown, right? It's on line 7. But if I knit this, it's going to be on the same knitted line as this text here. And I can do that, right? If I knit it, you'll see that it did not make a new line here between it and this, like we might have expected it to. And so what I'm going to do is, if you give 2 entrances, you'll see this is 2 lines down. You'll see that if we knit that, that worked. So you have to put an extra line in between to give it separation in the R Markdown. Alternatively, if you end the line with 2 spaces, so watch very carefully. This line is 2 lines down, 1, 2 spaces, and then we go to the next line. This has 2 spaces from the previous line. If we knit that, you'll see that we've actually done a new line. So I know that's kind of unclear and there's not really a good way syntactically to show that. But if you end a line with 2 spaces, it will include a return. So the 2 options for creating new lines are to either do an empty line in between or to put 2 spaces at the end of the existing line. So there is a couple more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about how we can do lists. But for now, I want to stop the video. I want to go back. I want to sort of recap what we've talked about. And then we'll do the rest of it in another video. So just to recap what I've shown here, right? We can create headers by using the hashtag and then followed by a space. And we can do different sizes based on the number of hashtags. We can make something italic by wrapping it in a single star on both sides. So that's the Shift 8. We can make something bold by wrapping it in 2 stars on each side. So that's Shift 8 twice. And then I've shown here that even though we have multiple lines in our Markdown, when we actually go to knit it, this will all be on the same line because we haven't actually told our Markdown to put in a character return, right, to start a new line. And there were 2 ways that we could do that. The first was to put an actual empty line in between them, and the other was to put 2 spaces at the end of the line. And this is the part I want to repeat one more time because it's really important. If you want to make a new line in our Markdown, you either have to put an extra white line in the R Markdown or end the line with 2 spaces. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, I know this was a lot. If you felt like you were confused about anything, please pause the video, go back, rewatch the parts you're confused about, and as always, please reach out. Thank you.